So, a recent study suggests that the secret to attracting that man that you've had your eye on may just be looking through Facebook for his family pictures. So, the study was done by eHarmony, and it suggests that men are attracted to women who are a lot like their mothers. And when I say a lot like their mothers, I mean in terms of physical appearance, but also in terms of personality traits. Hey, Courtney, I hope that you're having a great Friday. So, these men are attracted to women who have similar personalities as their mothers in terms of tolerance, in terms of how caring and affectionate the woman is, and in terms of even introversion versus extroversion, maybe even similar hobbies, those types of things. So I would first of all love to know your opinion on this, whether or not you think this study is true, that men are attracted to women who are like their mothers. But also, I really think that it brings up some interesting points about the fact that whether we recognize it or not, we are heavily influenced by our parents even as we reach our adult years and even as we are developing our own lives and our own purposes and separating from our parents. So when it comes to the parent who is the same sex as you, so if you're a woman, we're talking about your mother. If you're a man, we're talking about your father. Oftentimes I see people who, when they are trying to work on themselves, when they're trying to become the person that they want to be so that they can attract a healthy relationship and find that purpose partner, they end up finding certain characteristics within themselves that are a lot like their parents, for better or for worse. So oftentimes with the women that I work with privately, I see a lot of women who come to me with issues with people pleasing or having a history of toxic relationships, not having firm boundaries. And when I dive a little bit deeper into that, I see that these characteristics that they're struggling with are characteristics that their mothers also struggle with, or their grandmothers or aunties, any other woman who has a major influence on their lives. Or I see women trying to deal with the pressure of living up to their mother. So they have all these fears about getting married and about having kids because they're like, hey, my mom was really good at this thing. She always had food on the table for us. She was always at every single school event. And I'm more ambitious in terms of my career, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do those things. I'm not sure I'm going to be there for my husband in the exact same way that my mom was there for my father. So again, we have all of these influences that come to us from the parent who is the same sex, and that has a major impact on when we're dating because we have all of these things in our mind based on what our mothers taught us about love, about relationships, the example that was set for us. But also when it comes to the parent who is of the opposite sex. So again, if you're a woman, we're talking about your father here. If you are a man, we're talking about your mother here. The influences that that opposite sex parent has on you can also play a huge role in your relationships, in how you see dating. And it often goes one or two ways. Either one, you think that that parent is so awesome to the point where you end up pushing potential partners away because you have set a standard that they can't live up to. So you have decided, if you're a woman, no one is going to love me the way that my dad does. No one is going to spoil me the way that my dad does. So therefore, none of these men out here are good enough for me because they can try all they want to, but they still can't live up to the greatness that my father had. I see this especially a lot when, unfortunately, a woman has lost her father. She ends up glorifying him even more. I also see, and this unfortunately is even more common, when a woman doesn't like the way that her father treats other women, doesn't like the relationship that her parents had, and she will try to run away from that, but still end up right back in that situation of marrying a man who is just like her father. So, for example, let's say that your father is not just manly, but manly to the point of being macho, a little bit chauvinistic. And you say things like, I would never marry a man who is just like my father. I hate that attitude. I don't want a man who has that type of attitude, those types of beliefs towards women. I'm going to make sure that I marry a man who has way more sensitivity. Oftentimes, unless you recognize that this is what's happening, unless you learn how to check yourself and learn how to correct this behavior, what will happen is either A, you will say that you want a sensitive man, but you will find yourself constantly attracted to men who are just as macho as your dad is. And you may not realize that this is happening, but there's a part of you that is a little bit scared of having this sensitive man that you claim that you want, because you've never seen it in real life. You may have seen it on TV shows, you may have seen it in movies, but because you don't really have that example for you in your own real life, subconsciously it becomes a matter of better the devil that you do know than the devil that you don't know. So I see this often, that a woman will say, I don't want this type of man, but I strangely keep finding myself attracted to this type of man. The other way that this happens is in terms of, you may again say that you want a man who is sensitive, but because of the way that you were raised, because of the environment that you grew up in, you will say, I want a sensitive man, but there's a small part of you that believes men who are sensitive are weak. And because that small part of you believes that, and you haven't done this inner work on yourself to really challenge those beliefs, you may attract a man who is sensitive. You may end up dating a man who is sensitive, but you will end up pushing him away, because since there's a small part of you that believes he's weak, you're going to end up walking all over him. You're going to end up taking advantage of him, and he's going to get sick of that type of behavior and walk out, or somehow this relationship will be sabotaged and end. So whether we like it or not, our parents have a major influence on how we see the world, and especially how we see our love lives and our relationships. And that does not mean that that's the end all be all, because you are not your parents. You don't have to live the life that they lived. However, it does mean that you need to take some time to recognize that. So, especially if you are a single woman, it means that you need to really take some time thinking about, hey, what are the influences that my parents have on me? What are some of the things that they taught me about love and relationships when I was growing up that I still believe to this day? And should I be believing these things? Why do I believe these things? Also, what is it that you're actually looking for in a partner? And think about why it is that you want those things. And make sure that you have clear reasons for wanting those things. And also, as you're imagining your life as a married woman, as possibly a mother, that you're imagining the things that you truly want, and not things that your parents have set as an example for you.